At the end of August, we did a lot of harvesting in the garden. We harvested our green beans, and I got about 30 pounds. I could have harvested more, but I wanted to leave the rest to save for seed, and we froze those. I also harvested my butternut squash. If you remember, those got killed by a squash vine borer, multiple probably, and luckily with that, there's still a lot of usable squash there. I just let them cure in place and then cut them off the vine and took them inside in our pantry. So I got about 50 butternut squash to have for winter, which is great. I also ended up planting some fall plants. We had this cover crop of buckwheat, and I was doing a little bit of an experiment, and instead of pulling it out, I decided to just kind of split it down the middle and plant right into the middle of that so that the rest of the soil would be covered. And that actually did work really well, except I thought the buckwheat would die when I pushed it to the side like that, but it didn't. I also planted some turnips. That's what I'm planting here. And we covered up our sunflowers seeds because the birds were starting to get them, and I wanted to keep them for our chickens to eat. The other thing that was happening during this time is I started to see a pest in the garden, and this is our yellow beans right here. It wasn't on our yellow beans. It was on our turnips and the new Chinese cabbage that I just planted was this pest, and I had to look it up on Google because I had never seen it before, but it's called a harlequin bug, and this is it right here. And it's an awful bug. It's like sort of a stink bug, I guess, and it was destroying any crop that I had that was in the cabbage family. So all of my turnips started to die, and all of the Chinese cabbages that I had just planted, which is really sad. Oh, we're pulling out the tomatoes today. We are collecting any tomatoes that are left on the plants and going to preserve those, and then pulling out the weeds that are also right here.
Okay.
Just make sure it doesn't have any spots. Like this is a bad one. It'll just go bad on the counter. And this is a bad one. It was a long day for homeschool, and I'm glad to be outside. And the kids and I are going to do our garden thing for today. Is we're gonna pick off all the bugs off of our cabbages. We got some cabbage worms and caterpillars and these harlequin bugs all crawled underneath the row cover. I didn't do as good a job as I should have with the row covers and putting down enough to keep everything down securely with all the wind we get up here. So I really need to do a better job with that. Probably get some more sandbags, and yeah, it's kind of discouraging and frustrating. We've just had so many bugs just through this last month. When things were at their worst, a miracle came. It was a complete miracle, and it was in the form of beneficial insects. They were eating my cabbage worms, and it was just the motivation I needed that day to keep going because I was feeling so down. I am a believer that patience pays off, and that is one of the reasons why I don't use any sprays in my garden, even organic sprays. I don't use those either. And the only other thing that I do is I just try and do my part and hand pick off bugs and then let nature take care of itself. This morning I am picking some cowpeas. I'm planning on doing some canning later today, one of our favorite soups. It's a Cajun cowpea soup, so good. And it's so nice to have on the shelf and ready to go whenever we're really busy. So got a lot of cowpeas here to pick. I need 5 cups because I'm doubling this recipe. 5 cups of cowpeas, and I should be able to get that one of the beauties of having a little bit more space this year is we've been able to grow enough. So here we go.
We just picked up our first butcher calf from the processor, so we're filling the freezer. We've got meat.
15, around 15.
Okay, cool.
Dinner tonight. Steak and salad. Yum.
Just in time.
Yum.
I'm headed out to the garden and going to grab some lettuce for dinner with the steak that we're having tonight. And I'm probably gonna grab some cherry tomatoes as well. About ready to give up on fall planting of all of my cabbage crops because of the bugs, but then I remembered that I had a bunch of this tulle fabric. I had this in our barn. I bought this last year because it's a lot cheaper to use than an actual insect netting, and this is 108 inches wide, and I just had this left over because I used some in our old garden and it worked really well, and I just kind of forgotten about it. So I'm excited because I think this is gonna work. It does rip fairly easily if it gets stepped on or whatever, so I'm hoping it holds together. But I'm actually gonna lay this down flat on top of this. That is when I had the best results. Before I direct seeded and then I laid down this tulle as like an insect cover right over the top, and as the plants grew they kind of like pushed up the tulle themselves, but it was super bug proof because I put so many rocks down along the edge and kind of tucked everything under, and then I just never touched it, and the bugs never had an opportunity to get under there. So I'm hoping that works for this time.
Just found a black widow. Becky's terrified of spiders. I was gathering sandbags from some other rows in the garden, and this one was neatly tucked under one of the folds of the sandbags.
Okay, so I recruited some helpers and we all got our gloves on now because we were handling sandbags after the Black Widow incident. So we're gonna finish burying the rest of this tulle. our corn this year, I went through and Cameron went through and the kids went through and marked all of the ones that we wanted to keep for seed with this green tape, and we tie it around the top, and then we let the stalks dry out. And these kernels are finally dry for the most part. We're gonna remove them and bring them inside to finish off the drying process, but they look really good.
We're gonna weigh these, but each of them should carry about 25 pounds. So we might have about 150 pounds of potatoes here, which is really cool.
And we're not done yet.
And we're not done, yeah. We still got a half a row to finish up. Okay.
All right, here's a full bucket.
Oh, nice. Got more, 35 pounds. Cool.
Cool.
So to the brim, 35 pounds. Yeah,
35.
35 and a half.
How much do those buckets weigh?
Just heading down to feed our pigs their final meal. We're also going to show how easy it is to load them in the trailer, if done the right way. So follow me. Okay, Steve, you with me? Follow me, guys.